I am a fan of hip hop and rap. It's my workout music. It gets me going. Love me some hip hop. Having said that, it is not lost on all of us the language that is used. Very, very explicit. One parent reached out to me saying, my 7-year-old son in grade 4 called another student a nigger. How do I talk to them about it? When I speak to students, one student said to me, well, it's heard in rap songs and I hear other Black people use it. So what's the problem? For the record, let me just say, I am someone who believes that no one, regardless of your race, whether you're Black, purple, pink, white, green, I don't think anyone should be using it. That's just my personal feeling. I think when you understand the history, and I think that's really important for us to explain to our children, yes, that word is used in pop culture and hip hop and rap, but understanding that that term was originally used by slave owners speaking to enslaved Africans while they're coming over here. And it was not an enduring term. And I can appreciate how there are some Black folks who have turned that word into more of an enduring and companionship term. But again, I think that it's still not something to be used. How I see it, and I think Kathryn, you and I had this conversation. I said, if I were talking to your partner, your loved one, Kerri, your loved one or partner, I wouldn't call them honey or sweetheart or dear or love. Because that's not my place. That's not the relationship I have. That's your partner. It's acceptable for, Kathryn to speak to her partner and call him love or sweetheart, not for me. Another example is, football players. I don't know if anyone else has noticed this. I don't know why football players love to slap each other on the butt. It's just this thing that they do. And I'm like, okay. And I think if I were to do that, if someone who wasn't part of, the NFL or wasn't part of the football team, if they were to do that, that would be very inappropriate, right? But that is something that within that group, they have created this kind of understanding that they can use these words or we can use this kind of behavior and it's acceptable in that context. So that's how I try to explain the use of the N-word. But I'll throw it to you, Kerri. What are your thoughts around that? Because again, this one comes up all the time.
Can I just pipe in? I have a lot of teenagers and they all listen to it. And I actually enjoy some of their music, but the volume of that word and some pretty raunchy words around women, I always go away and think, am I being a good parent allowing this song to show up? Except they're listening to it and they don't see it that way. And my daughter asked me, she's 14, and said, how come Black people have this special word for each other, but we don't have that special word? She actually saw it as a special positive word. She didn't understand that it had a negative connotation. She thought that it was just an endearing word that only Black people could use. But how come I'm white and I don't have a special word? Like, she actually was thinking of it in an endearing way instead of in the negative way that it was intended.
And she's not completely, as far as it being an enduring term, she is correct, right? I just think we need to see the other side of it, of why are there people who are still very uncomfortable with it, so that, because to be honest, our children are going to listen to what they want to listen to, right? So for me, I'm not trying, my goal isn't to get them to stop listening to hip hop music and enjoying those songs. It's so that they have a bit more reverence and respect and understanding of the history around it. So when you are jamming to those songs, you understand where it's coming from, right?
Absolutely.
But Kerri, what are your thoughts?
Kerri. Yeah, well, we talked about that idea of boundaries, right? So not just with partners, but when you're out at the store and the cashier's calling you hun, and you're kind of, well, this kind of crosses a boundary, even though it's coming across as a positive thing. So kind of going back to the term of endearment, it's sort of, that has to be an established, kind of permission. And so it goes back to our conversation about consent. But in terms of maybe talking to them about it, I think context is always important. And if you can connect your children to something in their life that is maybe inappropriate, something they don't like, for me as a little girl, I got called Carrot Top and I didn't like it. I mean, there's lots of other names people call each other. And you'll know your child, and so you'll know what that word is or what that thing could be. So you just use that as the context, as sort of a springboard to talk about how that word, doesn't. It's not permission to say it. It's and then kind of reinforcing the idea that words that are used for bullying are unacceptable. So then talking about the history and the implications that go along with the word. That is found, it's found in a lot of music, but then also talking about songs and sort of the arts, and how arts are usually an emotional reflection of something, like someone's lived experience, right? So, you know, when we can kind of frame songs as something that is personal, then you can kind of understand that, yeah, this person's putting out something of themselves. And so we're going to listen to it and enjoy it, but understand that that's, you know, that person's experience and it's not our experience, but we can still enjoy it. I don't know if that makes sense.
No,
That helps.
No, that absolutely makes sense, because oftentimes we'll hear criticism of artists for them to stop using, you know, the explicit language, specifically the N-word. That's the one that comes up the most. Stop using it. And that is something that I often hear back from artists, is that art is about self-expression, and they're talking about their lived experience. And those words are part of their lived experience. You know, when you talk about freedom of expression, that falls in line with it. So I really appreciate that we can enjoy the art and what these artists have put out, and still have respect and understanding of the historical context of the words that are being used.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.